There we go.
All right, guys. This is the old band right here. You can see from this box hinge right there. That's the old style hinge. I've already loosened it up because you guys didn't see me take it off. This is the new style hinge. This is what you get in the box. It says new design right there on the box. You get the 2 new hinges and then the support arms and 2 new bands, plus all the hardware and the most important part, the spacers. All right, so we're gonna take these off and just get started. All right, like I said, I already loosened these all the way up, so they're just gonna fall right off pretty much. And those are about good for recycling. That's about it. All right, when you start setting this up, first thing you want to do is cut that zip tie. And the bands will spring a bit, so just be careful. Always hold on to it. All right. Box anymore. Don't need these yet. And what I like to do is I'll get all my hardware out. I set it on my trash can, wherever you want to put it. And then I like to take one band, place it where the opening is here, right in front of you, and then you follow the instructions for installations. So you've got your 2 front handle bolts. I always just go around and simply set these in first, in accordance with the directions. Make sure you're counting the holes. So I got 2 empties, and then I got to put 1 here. And basically on these new bands, all 4 of these on both sides are going to get filled. And I've got that one in. Skip 2. 1 goes in, and then 4 more. All right, so I got those all on. I usually start. I'll hinge up so you guys can see it. Be very careful. Make sure you put A. See how it's all labeled? A goes over here. And I like to lay them out and figure everything out before I do it. So A is going to go right here. These don't have to be any tighter than finger tight at this point. I just get them started so they don't fall out of the holes and let it go. And that's all. And like this one is if you've got side tables, your tables are going to go in this one. Since I don't have side tables, I just put a nut on top of it. And it says B, so you grab B. On these, there's definite top and bottom, all right? If you see in the directions, that does show the slotted pieces to be on top. So you're gonna just let it hang. You're gonna put these bottom ones on. Goes like that, doesn't it? I know I got it all wrapped around itself. There. Egg likes to put too much paint on their fasteners too, so a lot of times you're going to be scraping paint out of fasteners. And I just keep on working my way around. just like I've started there, kind of. And I'm going to have to scrape that one. It does not want to go on. There's another one. All right, and then this is the other one. All right, so there's pretty much all the bottom band. I just got to put 2 more fasteners on it. Nuts, I should say, right here in the front. And now we're gonna, after this, we're gonna build the top band. And it'll get the handle, etc. Go ahead and it's gonna have to be dealt with. And now the top band goes on. Again, following the directions. See how the square is on this side, squares to the left. You want your bolts going the same direction. I just lay it on top, just like that. It'll start laying itself out here in a minute. First thing I do, bring these up and start attaching here. Do it again on the other side. Get the hinges aligned, get them fastened on. Remember, again, nothing is being tightened at this point, nothing. All right, now we got these guys. They'll automatically kind of tell you where they want to go, but you can also count the holes again, like I said earlier. And over here. Then all we got left is the handle. And you'll notice, I'll show you something about the handle on the new bands as well. You notice the handle on the new one has these tabs to keep it from sliding down the lid as it's used. So, same thing, just hand tighten them. You don't have to tighten any of this stuff yet. It's actually easier to tighten once you tighten the bands to the egg. There is another bad fastener. There's 2. Egg will always give you 1 extra, by the way. Get one of these guys down there. It just wants to go bad. just leave it right there. All right, that's the way. And I've got my. These are the band bolts in the springs, and these are the spacers that are left. And like I said, egg always gives you one extra fastener. All right. Now we get to set the new band onto the egg. First thing we got to do is take the lid off of it and set it down. That's why I keep the box right there. This is the dirty part. Another thing you got to notice right here on the front, you've got the dimple right there. This is when we're going back together with everything. There's also a dimple, and it should be directly underneath your temperature gauge. You want to make sure those are aligned so your lid opens in the correct way. Then it's simply a matter of putting it around. I usually just slide my bottom bolt in, and there's enough room on these that you can just get it started. It won't fall down typically. I have had to drop them a few, but not many. And there, see, now it's actually engaged onto the egg. It's not falling down. All these are 7/16 fasteners. The two bolts up here are 1/2 inch. So you only need 2 wrenches. And I'm just snugging this up enough to keep it from falling on the ground. That's all, nothing else. We'll set the lid on here and then go from there. Yeah, that's good. And if you look right here, you can see mine was having the underbite. You can see the lid would hit here, and then I would have this whole section on the back here where I was having the underbite from the old style hinge wearing out. All right. Then I just take my time. Like I said, you can see your alignment marks now. See how mine are off a little bit right now? I just got to get them aligned. And then we'll go from there. Thanks, Tony. Close, not too far. All right, that's good. Then go ahead and throw your top bolt in, washer and nut, of course. And this is where I will typically get something to sit on, and then you grab these as well. And basically what I'll start doing here is I'm kind of moving the lid to where I want it to be. Not, don't let it tell you. You tell it where you want it to be. And then I begin tightening these guys up to where they'll just snug. They'll just be a little snug where they'll kind of hold their position, but you can still move them a little bit. It's about good. All right, now for the spacers. This is the part that they never give you at the stores when you go and buy them. They never give you your spacers. And I wish everybody had them. You see right here in the directions, it shows the blue spacers and where to put them, all right? You want to get pretty close to that exact same location. And it's pretty easy if you just kind of follow along. And before I get my bands where I actually am going to start tightening them, you got to make sure your spacers are in. Also, you should have 4 spacers on, a large and an extra large, and I believe the Mini Max is the only one that has 3, but it's been a minute since I put a Mini Max together, so I couldn't tell you for sure. All right, so there's the spacers you're on. Now we're going to start tightening the bands down fully. And what I like to do is while I'm doing this, I will move the bands around and tighten and spin the egg and just basically continually check these while I'm tightening these bands to make sure that I don't have any slippage, any move around. See, they do tend to move a little bit. I can feel that one getting tension already. And basically, in my experience, you're always going to end up with about a 1/16 of an inch of green showing between the band and the seal. You see how there's just that little bit of green in there when you're spaced correctly. I'll spin around and check my front spacer. See how this is too low? See how this one's too low? It's got to come up. But I've put enough tension on it to where it'll hold itself in place, but it's not tight. And make sure these are all the way in. The bands are hitting it and not going behind them. I have had that happen before where it'll slide up behind the spacer and it really messes you up. Everything's looking good. Now go ahead and start tightening down a little bit more. See how there's still no tension here, no tension. Go ahead and check them again. Good, good. 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 And good. My lid slid a little bit. I gotta push it back on itself. Oh, too far. There. There, that's better. Go around and check it one more time. And then, because I'm gonna go for full on tight after this one. All right, I think we're ready for full tight. Now, they don't ever tell you how tight to make these things. See the pictures right there? They show you the spacing. That's all they're going to show you. I try to run mine until they're about 1/4 inch. Don't mind, the bolt will bend. It is meant to bend. I've asked Ed that. See, the bolts are starting to deflect now. If you shoot down from the top down. And we're starting to get our gap to where it's correct. I usually just kind of use the back half of a wrench. This is a quick reference. Tighter on the bottom, and I think we're going to be done with that for now. I'll come back and check them again though. Looks good. The bolts are starting to deflect. See how they're starting to bend? That's good. And now, switch to my 7/16. This is where you have your adjustments to align your lid correctly. And if you notice, you don't need your spacers anymore. Your spacers are only to position your bands, and both the bands are tight. So, see how right here, I knocked it so it's not quite where it's supposed to be. So you just kind of move it around, get it exactly where you want it. I find that the extra larges will line up not quite as good as the larges. The larges seem to line up the best. The extra larges will kind of, since they're so much bigger, they have a little wave kind of sometimes. But these definitely line up. The largest line up perfect every time, just about. And now that I've got everything works where I want it, I'm just going to start tightening down the hinges. I start with my hinges first, and I usually start on the bottom, just like I'm doing. I like to make sure there's no side load on the hinges, and just to make it right. All right. And then you got the side hinges. I don't know what they actually call these, but they stabilize it as it opens and closes. I always tighten the bottom first, because the bottom ones are the ones that have the drilled holes, where these have the sliders, so that you have your adjustments are all up here basically. That gives us the ability to move our lids around and re-angle everything. That's why this is such a much better design, because you can actually adjust it. The old style, there's no adjustment there. That hinge bolts on and that's it. As I'm going around, I'm gonna tighten those down. I don't really get them tight. I just snug them down so they don't fall off. And of course the handle. All right, only one we got left is this one right here. Like I said, again, start on your bottom. come up to your top and get it. Now, after I get that done, I always go around and check everything. Put a wrench on every single bolt because you're going to open the lid for the first time. Next. Alright, so this will be my last one. Now everything is tight. I'm going to check my main bolts one more time. Honestly, I'm going to go a little tighter on mine. That's probably good right there. Alright, so now I'm going to open it up. I always put my hand on the top first time I'm opening it. Remember, there's no assist springs here, so it's going to be the full weight of the lid. Everything looks good. It seems to function fine. While it's in the raised position, put your springs in. I always put them facing downwards, just easier, and they just hang in. And that is the job done. As you can see, I mean, the springs are so much stronger on this new one. It'll pretty much hold where you set it. There you go. Let me know if you've got any questions.